Elbow Grease Productions, in association with MichaelJacksonInsider.com, presents
Well, I don't think it surprised anybody in the courtroom. It certainly didn't surprise me. We made the motion today because that is a prerequisite for us having the Court of Appeals consider that issue.
What do you think that might happen or could happen on the next one debate?
Well, we've got to go back and research and figure out exactly what the best mode of attack is in the Court of Appeal, and I don't know if that's going to be me or Valerie making that decision.
It certainly is up to the sheriff to determine whether or not Dr. Murray is a danger and could be a candidate for the monitoring.
It is the sheriff's decision, but I think, the sheriff, a couple of weeks before sentencing, Baca was quoted in the Times as saying, well, obviously Dr. Murray is not a danger. He's one of the people that would be a prime candidate for early release or release on home monitoring. Then after sentencing, and I think it was his spokesman, Whitfield, it indicates that, well, we've never released a person on a manslaughter case before, and it seems like there was a change in their attitude. I don't know if the change in attitude was because of comments made by the judge, or whether the sheriff, I don't know, I can't explain the change in attitude.
Judge, what would you want to say to the sheriff? What would you want to, after today's decision, what would you want to tell the sheriff?
Well, I'm not going to tell the sheriff anything. I think that common sense would realize that a person, Dr. Murray, who just turned 59 years old, Sunday, he's practiced medicine for 20-some years. He saved probably thousands of lives. He has this one incident which he, and I think wrongfully, was convicted of Michael Jackson's death. But even if he were rightfully convicted, if he did something that was outrageously negligent, grossly negligent, this is one isolated incident. It was done during the practice of medicine. Dr. Murray is no longer licensed to practice medicine. And, the court said the burden of proof is on me to prove something by clear and convincing evidence. I've even heard this judge say how difficult it is to prove a negative. I got to prove by clear and convincing evidence that Dr. Murray is not a flight risk. Well, how do you prove that by clear and convincing evidence that a person is not going to do something? Well, where could Dr. Murray go in this world? If he did leave, he is so conspicuous, so recognizable all over the world that everybody would know where he was. His abandoning the United States, abandoning this problem, would result in a permanent forfeiture of all of his rights of citizenship, any chance of ever practicing medicine again, any chance of having a normal family life. Why is he going to do that? If he does have to serve out his entire time, he's got basically a year and 8 months to go. When he's 60 years old, he'll be out. He'll be eligible to reapply for a medical license. Now, maybe, like Judge Pastor says, he doesn't get licensed in California. He's not going to be applying in California. But he might be able to get licensed in Texas, and certainly he can get licensed in another country. He's going to find a way to support himself through the practice of medicine at some point in time. But if he were a fugitive, that would be out. And so, flight risk? I hardly think so. Now, as far as danger to the community, I don't see how you can take a person who's lived almost 60 years, a good, upstanding life, put himself through medical school, become a specialist in cardiology, practices saving lives, and he's a danger to the community because arguably they say he shouldn't have been giving propofol to a person in a home setting. In actuality, propofol is about the safest drug anybody any doctor can use. It's got the ultimate whatever you call it, the antidote. It's got the ultimate antidote, which is time. You know, you can go from a high level, a surgical level, where you can do an open heart surgery on somebody at 5.2. You turn off the propofol, and within a minute or two, they're at a conscious level, below a 1 microgram per milliliter. I mean, it's not like some of these other drugs that require an antidote. You got to go find the antidote, you fill the syringe up, then you inject it, and then you wait for it to take effect. You don't have that kind of a problem with propofol. One of these days, you're going to find that it's going to be used for insomnia. It's not recommended as used for insomnia now because a person cannot self-administer it successfully. If he gives himself enough just to get to sleep, he's going to wake up within a minute or two. That doesn't work very well. He needs a physician with him the entire time.
You are a physician.
You know, nobody really knows what this realignment is all about. I heard a guy that was sentenced to 6 years the other day, going to county jail, and he's already been released on home monitor. This is a special case. I think different provisions are being made for Dr. Murray, and I was talking to some attorneys yesterday. They were thinking, you know, probably the most common form of involuntary manslaughter is a vehicular manslaughter, and that's punishable by 2, 3, or 4 years in the state prison also. And normally those people aren't considered to be violent because they unintentionally do something very bad that results in a death, and it's an isolated incident. I've had some attorneys that do these types of cases that deal with driving under the influence, deaths, and vehicular manslaughters. They said that Dr. Murray's case is setting a bad precedent because up until now, the vehicular manslaughter people were not deemed dangerous people. They're getting punished for an outrageous act that they did. It's usually an isolated incident. I think dangerous people are people who tend to be recidivistic. You know, your drug people, they got bad habits. Your sex offenders, they got bad habits. And then there's a couple people out there that are just plain mean, that hurt people. And that's a character flaw. Dr. Murray doesn't have any of those character flaws. The worst that can be said about him is he made a mistake in the practice of medicine. And that does not make him permanently dangerous.
Well, don't you consider him lucky in a sense that he is in solitary confinement and not exposed to the general inmate population the way you described it?
Well, you know, in state prison, when you violate the rules, they put you in solitary confinement. The solitary confinement is used as an enhanced punishment in most penal facilities. And in Dr. Murray's case, I guess it's protective, and maybe he is better off. But it's very difficult. He's a guy that if he were sentenced to state prison right about now would be qualifying for work camp, fire camp. He'd be up in the mountains, or he'd be at a very low security facility. And the thing about being at a low security facility is that you are with other low security inmates. And those low security inmates have the tendency to be those people that aren't real dangerous.
Thousands believe Tupac did it. Millions believed Elvis did it, but did Michael Jackson really do it? E-movie book, Pseudocide, Did Michael Jackson Fake His Death to Save His Life? By author Pearl Jr. It's the most shocking true story of our lifetime. Order yours today. Go to michaeljacksonpseudocide.com. That's michaeljacksonpseudocide.com.